All right, folks, it's 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Good morning. Emma, do you want to hit the record button and we'll get going here?
It's recording already. You're good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for taking time out of your busy day to join our webinar series with an emphasis and focus on education regarding unfunded mandates, particularly FOIA in this particular situation. We have a very esteemed panel of guests that are going to present to you today. My name is Andre Greco, and I'm the VP of Sales for North America for Pimloc. We've also got Gage Lembeck, who is our Sales Development Rep, Hunter Skripik, who leads our Customer Success team. Leanne Moorhouse is got a bio that would take me 45 minutes to get into and read. Leanne spent many years in law enforcement in the UK and joined us very recently. She'll give you a little idea of how things are going in the UK relative to DSAR requests, which is the parallel to our FOIA request, and how body-worn cameras are really impacting the need for automated redaction and what she sees coming here in the US. And then we've got a very special guest, Captain Franklin Gallob, who is with the Hinesville Police Department. And Captain Gallob is going to talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges he's had relative to FOIA and possibly some ideas as to things that you can do in your own individual departments to help. Right. I'm just admitting somebody else in that was in the lobby. Managing the unfunded mandate in law enforcement. So as we look at FOIA, how is it an unfunded mandate? So in my background, I was a Board of Education member in Connecticut for 6 years. And in the education world, we certainly know what an unfunded mandate is. And unfortunately, FOIA has become a very heavy unfunded mandate for police departments all over the country. There's a legal obligation. Obviously, you have to respond to a FOIA request. You have to get the information out when it's requested. And nobody from the federal government is giving you additional resources or money to pay for the time it takes to handle these FOIA requests. The workload for FOIA requests has grown exponentially in the US the last 2-3 years. Body-worn cameras, dash cams, in-car video, cell phones, social media. There's this massive influx of video information that has now infiltrated our world, especially around events where the police have responded. And just because of the massive influx of information, FOIA requests that in the past could be done in maybe a couple of hours are now taking days because there's so much more data that has to be processed. You have deadlines, and the deadlines don't move. You have to get that FOIA request done and out and responded to in a very short period of time, in my opinion. And there's really no way to recover the cost. There's a couple of states in the US where they do charge individuals for FOIA requests, but that generally happens when a public individual is requesting data from records. It's certainly not paid for when it's going to the district attorney or whether it's going to the prosecuting attorney, or if someone else in the court legal system has requested information that needs to be part of a FOIA request, that cost is just kind of sunk. So you look at the combination of the legal requirement, the deadline, which falls under the legal requirement, no way to recover the cost, and a workload that has just gone from kind of easy to very, very expansive. And all of that really drives down to a challenge for police departments all across the country. And we were able to get some information from some police departments in the US, and here's what they're saying to us. In Milwaukee, again, pretty major metro market, in 2023, they had 28,000 records requests. 28,000. They're running a 10 to 12 week backlog. They have a dedicated team of 20 people who are doing nothing but processing FOIA requests. And as we all know, body cam and dash cam footage have skyrocketed. Every requester now wants to see every piece of video, audio, regardless of where it comes from. In Vancouver, which is out in Washington State, substantial backlog of public records requests for body cam footage as of mid-2024, and every request requires the staff to manually review it and manually redact it before it gets released. Down in New Mexico, in 2020, the BWC mandate created thousands of new public records. They're extremely time-consuming, diverting staff from other duties. And this is a quote right from the New Mexico PD. And they explicitly labeled FOIA requests as being an unfunded mandate. So it's not just us, it's the police community across the US who is really saying that this is becoming crushing. So the cost, like I mentioned, sits entirely with the force. Some states have tried to be able to charge individuals for making FOIA requests. So in California in 2020, there was a suit from the National Lawyers Guild versus the city of Hayward, barring agencies from recovering or charging for redaction costs. So the full burden sits with the department again. So this was a city that simply wanted to recover their cost for providing documents, audio, video to a requester. They just wanted to cover their costs. They weren't looking to make any money. And New Lawyers Guild comes in and sues them and wins. Colorado and other states that have tried to combat new transparency laws, and no fee. So they want the requests out faster. They want it completely 100% accurate. They want all the footage, and no fee can come back to the authority or the state to support any kind of funding. Illinois in 2024, the city the city settled a FOIA request after failing to redact body cam footage, citing a lack of means to do so. So Illinois said, listen, you want us to provide this FOIA information out to the requester. We don't have a way to do it. It was a massive request, and they couldn't fulfill it because they had no tools to be able to do it, and they didn't have the people to sit there and do it manually. So they said, we don't have the means to do it, and they got sued and lost. So is it fair? No, it's absolutely not fair, but it's something that we are all dealing with day in, day out. And I don't know the size of the departments that have joined the call today, but if you're a large department and you're already suffering this challenge, it's just going to get worse. If you're a small department and you get FOIA requests only once in a while, those number of requests are going to increase exponentially. So what's the backlog to the department? It's backlog and leading to lawsuits, as we saw, attorney fees awarded, and court sanctions. And that's just simply for not being able to get the FOIA request out in time. Staff burnout. We've talked to a lot of departments who have officers, sworn officers, that are doing redaction because they have no one else to do it. And these poor officers are just getting burnt out because they're sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day doing nothing but crossing names out and personal information out and drawing boxes around heads and filling them in with the color black so you can black the person out. There's a big risk when redaction has to be done manually. Inevitably, there are always errors. And God forbid a FOIA request go out with even one mistake in it. That one mistake is going to be found. And even though the 500 other redactions were done correctly, that one mistake can lead to some pretty significant risk to the department and to the municipality. And again, budget strain. And budget strain really comes from the fact that there is that timeline in which you have to get that request done. And sometimes that requires OT. Sometimes it requires new technology. And that can offset a budget because how do you plan for it, right? You don't know if you're going to get 10 FOIA requests next year or 100. So how do you budget for that accurately and stay within your budget for the year without sacrificing service to the community? It's tough, and it's impacting departments every day all around the US. And FOIA now has teeth where, 4 or 5 years ago, some departments were saying, we're not even going to respond because nobody cares. Now that is changing. We're seeing large departments across the country being sanctioned and fined and sued. So in Oakland, they have thousands of requests, FOIA requests, ignored, just didn't do anything with them. And in 2026, right now, they're still non-compliant with over 1,100 unprocessed FOIA requests. So, situation, they get sued and they get tagged with a $127,000 fine. Specific response timelines were imposed, and further enforcement was threatened if they didn't take a big chunk out of that 1,100 FOIA request backlog. Inglewood, 0 documents produced on requests covering shootings, officer dishonesty, and sexual assault. They get sued by the ACLU. LA Superior Court goes back and says there's a systematic pattern and practice of non-compliance. So they've been mandated to publicly disclose every FOIA request, every response, and how long it took for the next 3 years. Can you imagine what it takes just to track, publish, and respond to questions on all of those requests? Never mind the time it takes to actually go in and do the physical redaction to comply with FOIA. Boston, routine failure to meet the 10-day limit. One request was delayed 116 days. Civil rights lawyers came in and sued him. Boston court said pattern and practice lawsuit upheld, first of its kind in Massachusetts. The court cited there was harm from chronic delays. I don't know what the harm was, but the court said there was harm. And now Boston, under the microscope as it relates to having to process FOIA requests within that 10-day limit. Albuquerque, another one, refused to release shooting footage. They were sued and were inspected by Public Records Act. Seattle, grouping policy stalled responses for years. Years. The Seattle Times sued because they were making FOIA requests and getting 0 response. King Superior Court came back and said they violated the Public Records Act. Policy change enforced. So some of these consequences are financial, some are oversight, some are new laws put into place, but regardless of what the consequence is, it still had a very negative impact on each of these departments. And not just from a financial perspective, you have to look at it from a reputational perspective. Who wants to lead a department that is getting sued for not being able to get requests out to the public or to the court? Nobody. So FOIA has really dug in, and they're starting to hold departments accountable for living within the FOIA mandate. And again, right now there's a federal Data Privacy Act being debated in the House of Representatives. If we adopt a federal statute relative to data privacy, all bets are off. And it's not that FOIA is going to change. So in this new proposed National Regulatory Compliance Enactment, there's no change in FOIA language. But what's going to happen is it's going to build awareness in every community that you have the right to keep your data private, but you as a citizen also have the right to access your personal data. That will just send shockwaves through police departments all over the country, large and small, because once people know I have the ability to be able to get my information, I have the right to get it, it's a law, you have to give it to me, the amount of FOIA requests are going to grow, I can't even imagine, but exponentially over the next 2 to 5 years. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Leanne, and she's going to talk a little bit about the challenges they had in the UK as more body-worn cameras were brought into that community, and how she thinks that's going to translate into what we're doing here in the US. Leanne?
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And that all sounds very familiar, what you've already discussed. So hopefully I can shed some light on our UK journey so far. As Andre said, I was a police officer of 20 years, and my role most recently within policing was leading the national body-worn video portfolio for UK policing. Today, I work with Pimloc, helping public safety agencies use our technologies to manage all the challenges that are associated with digital evidence. So the title of this slide is where we currently are in the UK. We're no longer kind of concerned about capturing the evidence, it's about managing it at scale. And so the UK we first used body-worn video back in 2005, so that's over 20 years ago now. And we were the first country known globally to get a conviction from an officer mounted camera. It was mounted on the head back then and wasn't very comfortable. The focus of it was purely to gather evidence. So different to you guys over there, we brought it in as a means of capturing evidence at scenes. What we found, a welcome side effect, was actually it was an amazing transparency tool. All of a sudden, communities could see officers' points of view. We could share our experiences with our communities, and it went a big step into a long journey of kind of building public trust and confidence in policing. And the UK, we had times of austerity from 2006 onwards, but from about 2010, all of our UK police forces bought body-worn cameras in and widely adopted them. And the more successful and widely adopted body-worn video became, everyone was very focused on the cameras and the technology. Nobody seemed to realise actually these things generate a lot of footage. And the footage is the most important product of a body-worn video camera. In 2018, the UK and Europe passed some pretty strong data protection legislation. Sounds very similar to what is kind of being discussed over there. GDPR, and we have a Data Protection Act. And what this meant is exactly like Andre just said, you can gain access to copies of your footage. And you know what? You have to provide it within 31 days. That meant every camera that was on a uniformed police officer, by this point, 2018, I would say nearly all of our frontline officers were carrying cameras. And it was part of my job to encourage them to record as much as possible, because we wanted to collect evidence and we wanted to show the public what we were doing. However, This new law brought in meant that if you were present in footage, you had the right to request a copy of it. So what had happened? We'd solved one problem, and we were becoming really great at capturing the evidence. What we weren't prepared for is allowing the sharing and access to it. And the scale of the challenge, probably in a similar position to where you are now, is this just grew and grew. And what police departments did was spend lots of money on cameras. What they didn't spend money on is the people behind them, the footage it produced, how to manage it, how to store it, and any additional staff required to process it. Policing in the UK, we had access to redaction tools. They were manual, they were tedious, they were unreliable, and they were generally built in within forces' body-worn video DEM solutions. And redaction quickly became a bottleneck, not just for data protection purposes, but also in our criminal justice, in our evidence cases. Officers were going out there recording as much as they can, and then it started to slow down when it got to investigators. And then by the time we had to redact footage in order to provide it for court or to provide it for these subject access requests, this process was starting to take hours, moving into days, and backlogs began to emerge. Existing teams, data protection teams, small data protection teams were now given these additional tasks. And the public started to become more aware of this new Data Protection Act, more aware of their privacy rights. An example I can give you is more of our anti-police kind of members of society, especially anti-police demonstrations and protests, have been known to purposefully walk up and down police lines, getting captured on every single officer's camera, with the intention of the following day putting that request in, knowing, I mean, you know, some of these lines have hundreds of police officers. And sometimes our police officers, we have to draft them in from other areas. So we might have an officer from Scotland is dealing with a protest in London. And actually, how do we even know that they've got footage of this person? So actually, the attempts to break the system were starting to work. We were starting to, a bit like Andre said, we were starting to say, we just can't physically respond to you. We can't respond to these requests. Because of that, we have a regulator in the UK that oversees our completion of these requests, and they have the power to give very big financial penalties. So financial penalties started to come, and there was massive organisational risk. In some ways, kind of having the footage wasn't the problem. If someone requested footage and it wasn't recorded, that seemed to be better than, oh, actually, we got the footage, but we just can't share it with you. So that generated questions of, what are you trying to hide? What are you trying to cover up? And in fact, it's escalated kind of so much in that the end of last year, we had a chief constable of a UK police force, so a chief of police. His team, his data protection team had failed to disclose body-worn video footage in a case of an arrest. And this escalated so much that this chief constable ended up in court and was found guilty of being in contempt of court. It wasn't even him. Actually, the really ironic thing is he wasn't even the chief constable at the time. The chief constable had retired. So he was now in court being accountable for his police force, and actually has walked away with quite a big fine that potentially could have served prison for being found in contempt of court for not releasing footage. So if any of you on the call are chiefs of police and heads of department that have responsibility for kind of doing these requests, but you're not quite sure how well you're doing or what your team are using to get it done, this would probably be a really good reminder. And I can feel free to, I'll share the link afterwards of the consequences that can happen. So we found ourselves in an unsustainable position. And how did we try and solve it first? We threw loads of people at it. I know my own force, we hired agency staff on 12-month contracts just to do redaction. We didn't change the technology they were using. We just threw more people at the problem, hoping it would go away. And it did temporarily. However, it then began to show that actually it wasn't, the problem was deeper. Our UK Home Office did some research. They found it takes up to 8 hours to redact 10 minutes of body-worn video, which is just absolutely insane. And then the shift focused. Actually, we can't solve this with staffing alone. If it's taking one person 8 hours, this just isn't feasible. Actually, maybe we need to look at our processes and our workflow. And it was around this time in my role that I saw Secure Redact in action. So I was like, hang on, the technology exists. Why as policing are we drawing manual boxes for 8 hours? To then crash halfway, to it then get rejected, sent back, inaccurate, when technology can do this for us. And so the position we're in kind of now with our kind of mountain of digital evidence is that it needs to work end to end. It's all very well encouraging recording and encouraging digital and technological innovation at one point, but to me, especially as an ex-police officer, the main goal of that footage is to be used in court to put bad people behind bars, to serve justice to victims. If it's not doing that, if it's not reaching court, and it's not solving a problem, then it's just not working. So technology like Secure Redact is being used in a large number of UK police forces now, across lots of different departments, but our main department that we're seeing lots of value, lots of benefits from is our departments that are dealing with these subject access requests, these FOI requests. And what we found now is actually our UK policing customers, where they did have a backlog, and some of these backlogs, they were over a year, so they're over 365 days old. And these are the backlogs that start picking up attention of the regulator, bringing the force into kind of distribute. What we're seeing now is all those backlogs are being eliminated completely in some of our UK forces that are using Secure Redact. So what we're seeing is actually, for technology like this, yes, it's bringing an efficiency gain off the back of legislation that has made it law that we have to comply and we have to release footage. But also it's making a really small step into increasing public trust and confidence, and making sure we adhere to our obligations under our Data Protection Act. And so that's a little bit about the UK kind of story, and I will pass you on to our next person, which I think is Andre. Are you taking it back?
It is, yeah. Thanks, Leanne. That was great explanation, and from someone with the vast and extensive experience you have with dealing with body-worn video and the challenges that it drives for police departments. Very helpful to everybody on the call today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So in talking to police departments, we always ask the same question: what do you need? And it's a very consistent theme that we hear from chiefs and officers and records folks and IA and training people. Staff time and budget, free officers and record staff from hours of manual redaction. Okay? And as you look across your department, I challenge you to look at it a little bit differently. Obviously, video is the biggest piece of media that needs to be redacted, but don't forget to talk to your records team, your internal affairs team, your officers, your training team, because all of them are also getting requests where they have to redact audio, documents, images, right? And if we can help all the departments become more efficient, then it's just better for everybody, and it drives that staff time and budget. They want backlog reduction. Let me get these things off my desk and out to whoever requested it as fast as I can. Compliance and defensibility. They want something that is 99% and higher accurate, and with a full audit trail built in. So if something goes to court, they can say, here's every transaction tied to the redaction of that video. And nobody, especially defense attorneys, can say the video was changed or tampered with. Another thing that police departments had requested from us, all formats. They want to be able to redact video, audio. They want to be able to take audio and create transcriptions that can be redacted. And they want it within one single unified platform. One-click unredact. And this may not seem like a big deal, but this is a huge deal, because what we see with police departments is you have a scene with, I don't know, 25 people. And the officer says, I want to redact everybody except for that guy and that guy. Well, redacting everybody is easy, but now you got to unredact 2 people. Departments are requesting from us one-click unredact. Find the person whose face we want to show, click on their head, unredact them out of the entire video. Okay, big drive to efficiency there. And no rip and replace. Don't make me rip and replace my existing body-worn cameras, digital evidence management system, case management system. Give me something that works within my existing environment, and it just makes things faster and more efficient. Integrate it in so that it works better for me. Don't make me change anything. So this is what we're hearing from departments all across the country. Now we're going to put up a little poll here, ask you one quick question. And as we're doing that, I'm challenging you to think about the situation that you're in today, right now, as we sit here. Are you using an editor from your body-worn camera manufacturer that only does the video out of your body-worn cameras? It does not redact video surveillance. It does not redact your in-car. It does not redact cell phone. You can't pull something off of social media and redact that. Is that the situation that you're in today? Are you using a solution or product included in a larger suite of products? So we see this every day. We see companies that sell evidence management. We see companies that sell voice transcription. We see companies that sell case management software. And they have this little piece within their larger suite that they say does redaction. And does it do it? Yeah, but it's not very good. And it forces the folks who are within the department to have to go back and take a look at every single thing that's redacted manually before it gets sent out. Are requests being ignored because there's just no reliable tool to be able to get it done? Are you sending video out to companies that have a long turnaround time and inaccurate results? That's happening every day. People are trying to outsource the redaction, but the outsourcing company is not tied to the FOIA request mandates, guidelines, and deadlines. So the department gets it back when they get it back, and usually it's not 100% redacted. Are you manually drawing boxes in some kind of video editing software? Right? I mean, frame by frame. See the person, draw the box, fill it in, go to the next frame, and do the exact same thing. And are you paying staff overtime to manually redact or even automatically redact with no guarantee of accuracy because you absolutely have to get the request out the door. So everybody's in a different situation. Okay? But regardless of the situation that you are in today, I can guarantee you this problem is not going away. It's not going to lessen. In fact, your requests are going to increase. The requests are going to be for more types of media and more mass of media. So if you have a solution today that's just not working well for you, then you should probably take a look at something else. If you're doing it manually today, and then you should definitely take a look at something else. Okay. At this point, I'm going to give you over to Gage Lembeck, our SDR. He's going to talk a little bit about how we can help. Gage, take it over.
Thanks, Andre. So how can Secured Act help? Secured Act was built specifically to automate redaction for those who, like Andre has been saying, are being consistently hit with FOIA and other public records requests. Our software is web-based, so it's as simple as pulling up our web page, logging in, and working directly from your browser. Like Andre also mentioned earlier, you can handle everything in one place. You can redact video, audio, photos, documents, and generate transcriptions, all within a single interface. For the past 10 years, redaction has been our sole focus, and when you tend to do something a lot, you get really good at it. And with that being said, as of last month, we're currently operating our model at 99.4% accuracy across all uploaded media. Now, in terms of security and compliance, we are SOC 2 Type 2 certified, which essentially means an outside auditor regularly reviews our security practices. And on top of that, Secured Act is CGIS, FOIA, HIPAA, and FERPA compliant. So a question the agencies sometimes ask us is, where does the footage actually go when you upload to Secured Act? Well, everything that is uploaded stays within the United States on either AWS or Azure servers in Virginia. No data leaves the US, and nobody outside your organization, including us, have access to what you upload. And that's because each user has their own dedicated environment, which is extremely secure. With a Secured Act account, you also get unlimited users. You can have as many users within your department under one account. You get unlimited storage. You can do bulk processing, which you just upload a bunch of videos, walk away, and they'll be finished when you get back. And role-based permissions. So as the account owner, you're able to choose exactly who within your organization has access to what. 8 hours versus 10 minutes. This slide is pretty self-explanatory, and Leanne mentioned it earlier. 10 minutes of footage redacted manually. We're talking drawing boxes and moving them frame by frame in programs like iMovie or Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, just to name a few. All of those conventional video editing softwares, for that 10-minute video on average, that takes up to 8 hours to fully complete. With Secured Act, that same 10-minute video, if your agency's getting slammed with FOIA requests, that same 10-minute video can take 10 minutes to fully process and redact. And that's not just nice to have, it's truly the only way you can possibly keep up with records requests in FOIA. And who are we? What is Pimloc? Well, we are an AI machine learning model company founded in 2016, built specifically to solve the problem of protecting privacy within data. We built the platform originally to meet GDPR compliance in Europe, like Leanne mentioned earlier, which is currently considered the toughest and most stringent data privacy regulation in the world. And that foundation is a big reason why the accuracy and compliance coverage is as strong as they are today. So over the past 10 years, we've been continuously training and refining the machine learning model. And that's what has gotten us to the incredibly high percentage of accuracy of 99.4% on all uploaded media that I mentioned. Today, we serve agencies around the world across law enforcement, education, healthcare, and transportation. And with that, I will hand it back over to Andre to introduce our guest speaker. And thank you for your time.
All right, Gage, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So our guest speaker today is Captain Franklin Gallob, and he's a 20-year vet with the Hinesville Police Department. Right now, he's the commander for the patrol division. And Captain, thanks very much for joining us today. great to have you. And I'm wondering if you can just share with the audience some of the challenges that you had relative to redaction and, how Secure Redact was able to kind of meet those challenges and help the process get easier and more efficient for you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank y'all for having me. So Andre, looking at your slide presentation there, we were one of those agencies that was outsourcing our video redaction needs. So really prior to finding Secure Redact, our agency relied entirely on our body cam vendor to perform our video redactions for us. And although it was working, it wasn't working well. And we faced several challenges along the way that just kept flaring up from time to time. The first challenge was that as soon as we sent that request off to our vendor, we instantly went to their timeline. So whether we needed that record request for, it was for an open record request, we needed video redactions because we were going to present a case in court, or it just needed to be disseminated internally to like city managers or city attorney or whatever the case may be. And we needed that redaction to take place. It was like, hey guys, we'll get it to you, but it's going to be a minute. So once that request was submitted to our video vendor, we just waited and we were on their timeline. And then the second issue was just the time consuming part of it for our staff leading up to sending it off there. Our vendor had a very detailed form, and what would be required of our records office staff is they would have to sit down, open the video, watch the video in its entirety, and begin identifying things, whether that was a juvenile's face, it was a computer screen, a cell phone screen, whether we needed audio to be muted because now we're talking to a sexual assault victim or something like that, and we're talking about protected information based on Georgia's record redaction laws, or it's just a date of birth or social security number. We had to do those things. So one of our staff members would have to sit and watch the video in its entirety to make sure that they were taking good notes, getting good descriptors, because if we had to redact a juvenile's face, we need to be say, hey, we need to redact the male subject wearing the orange sweatshirt and the red hat or whatever it was. That our vendor wanted to drill down to that finite of a detail to include date time or timestamps like, hey, at minute 3 we need to do this or whatever. So just time consuming. So from a resource management standpoint, you can only imagine you get that one hot call or whatever, multiple officers respond, it takes an hour, hour and a half. And, now we have 10 videos that someone's watching for, a total of 10 hours, to redact those videos. So a major time strain on our resources. So these were our issues moving up to here, but then there was an incident that really just put all of this into perspective for us. We had an incident a few months ago where our officers responded to some juveniles acting disorderly at a local movie theater. Although in that incident we acted appropriately, we responded lawfully, and our officers did what was right, there was a small group of people on social media that were putting out or pushing some false narratives as to what we did while we were there. So, command staff consulting with our city leaders, we thought that the best thing to do was let's push our body cam out and just be transparent. We're not going to say anything. Let the video speak for itself. But because these were juveniles, we needed to redact the faces of all the parties involved there, which was 4 in this instant. So our staff does what they do. They sat down, they filled out the form. And for the first time really in this agency's history with our vendor, we asked them to expedite the body cam footage for us because we needed to get in front of this because although it wasn't a tremendous uproar, it was enough that was gaining attention and we didn't want it to snowball into something else. So over the next several days, I was reaching out to our vendor regularly saying, hey, what's the status of this thing? Where are we at? And they just kept telling me like, hey, you're not the only person we serve, and we understand it's important to you, but and it's not a simple process, so they kept reminding us that, we were a customer, but they have other customers as well. So finally, after days and days and days of going through this, they finally produced to us a video. When we sit down in our in our conference room, when we review that video, we find out that the quality of the redaction was just absolutely abysmal. In instances where the juveniles were grouped together, the vendor decided, hey, we're just going to redact 3/4 of the screen, not just the faces, but in the entire screen, to where there was, just small blocks of stuff that could be seen. And although they did successfully redact the faces, they were also concealing very key things that were important details and offered context to the entire incident that needed to be seen. So with this incident, it was finally the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back, and we needed to go find it out. So, doing an internet search, I found Secure Redact, and I filled out the online interest form, and really within minutes, I would say, Gage was calling me while I was still perusing the program and looking at the sales pitch on the website, and he starts talking to me about the program, and I tell him what we're dealing with, what we're looking for, and he walks me through this process, and it became very obvious very quickly that this is what we were looking for. So very quickly after that, we purchased the program. And then after purchasing, one of the things that impressed me the most was Hunter over here. I got a one-on-one training session with him on how to use the program. To be honest, though, that even if Hunter didn't exist, the program's very, very intuitive, and you could figure it out yourself if you needed to. But the customer success component is a great thing that's offered here. So with about 45 minutes of online training with Hunter, and Gage was present too, I became very confident in my abilities to train our staff on how to handle these redactions. And really and truthfully, in my opinion, if someone can edit a video on their phone, or they can, edit a photo on a phone app, this program is very intuitive and just sort of lends itself to that type of format. So if you got basic computer skills and you're confident with a smartphone, you're going to be successful in here. But I'll close out by saying this: the greatest thing that Secure Redact gave our agency, it gave us control back. It gave us control over the timeline. It gave us control over the quality of the redactions, and it gave us control over what the final product looked like. So instead of having to wait days or even weeks in some instances for our video redaction request to be processed, we could do that in less than an hour. And with the AI assisted tools for face redact, or screen redaction or whatever, it sets everything up so a staff person that is having to do this can very quickly go through, says, yes, you detected the correct things, I want to redact this, process it, and we've got a video that's ready to go at a moment's notice if need be.
But Cap, thanks very much for being here today and for sharing your experience. I mean, it's been an honor working with you and your team, and we're thrilled that we were able to help expedite and create some efficiencies within your existing redaction process. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Hunter. Very quick live demo, just so you can see that the product is real and it works. And then we can get into any kind of questions that folks may have. Hunter, all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andre. Can you guys see my screen here okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'll make this quick because I know we're going to leave some time for questions here. But when you hop into Secure Redact, this is what you're going to see. Obviously, not as many of these little folders here, but I'll walk you through the basic process of getting through the upload and redaction process, so that way you can send out those FOIA requests, like Captain Gallob said, within an hour. So the first step you'll want to do here is just create a new project. In this case, I'll create a demo project, and then you can hit the Upload Files button and add the file by simply clicking and dragging, or finding a certain group of files on your machine. You can just click and drag all of those in at the same time. When you get your file here uploaded, you'll hit the Next button, and then, like Captain Gallob said before, our AI gives you a couple different options for things that we can automatically redact for your team. So we have things like faces, license plates, screens, which can be, laptop screens, cell phone screens, etc. We can automatically redact scene text, so street signs or building signs of that nature. And then to transcribe audio, when you hit the transcribe button, we have a ton of different languages that we can transcribe and translate into. But for the most part, for our US customers, English is going to be key number one. And then when you hit upload here, it's going to enter the project folder and begin to upload. All right here. Oh, you guys see my screen here. Okay, sorry. There you go. This is the file I uploaded, and just to save time, I have it pre-uploaded here. So when you dive into what the video looks like, you'll enter our video redaction screen, and it's going to have three main components. You'll have your video player here in the middle, similar to what you can find on YouTube. On the right, you'll have a redact panel and some other options to view the audio transcript and find other modes of redaction. Then on the bottom here, you'll have your timeline. And again, if you have basic video editing skills, this timeline is kind of representative to what you'll find on Adobe Premiere Pro or on iMovie, where each of these individual boxes here relate to a box that you'll see on screen. As you can see, our AI, if I go ahead and play the video here, has automatically put orange boxes around the heads of individuals, even the heads of individuals that are in the paintings in the background, right? This is done at a 99.4% accuracy rate. So you can, feel assured that there's going to be an orange box around every head in the video. If I go to our redact panel over here on the right, I can preview what those redactions will look like by hitting the preview button. We have a bunch of different variants for redaction. We have the black box, which is generally, the best case in the use of, redacting juveniles, but we also have the ability to use a smooth blur or a pixelated blur as well. Really up to you and how your department or your agencies want to go about redacting. So if, let's say we have a scenario where we have one subject that we need to unredact because they requested the footage, the way to do that is pretty simple. So we'll go hit our edit button again, then we'll hit on the orange box that's on one of the individuals within the video. You'll see on the timeline below that it'll be highlighted in blue. The best way we're going to do the unredaction process is to pin their timeline to the top. We can label them subject 1 in this case, and then we'll hit the orange eyeball on the bar right here. Now, if I go back to the redact panel and hit preview and hit play, that individual has been completely unredacted from the entire video. So this video also comes with audio. In most cases, if you have body cam footage that, you'll have to also redact the audio. So we have a function to be able to do so with our transcription tool. So by hitting the transcript button here, we can see a full timestamped log of every word that's said in the video. And I'm going to go ahead and play the video. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Right, quick intro round. I'll start. I'm Beth,
Great.
and I'm a proud Mancunian, so Manchester originally.
So this is body cam footage that we recorded in our UK offices, and we have a bunch of different instances of PII that are underlined in yellow here. So if I highlight over it, the person's name is Beth. You can see that as a person's name. Obviously, some of these videos are going to contain, thousands of lines of text and a lot of different instances of things that need to be redacted. There's a couple different ways you can go about redaction. You can simply click and drag on our transcription tool to highlight a line and then hit the redact button, and you'll get an orange highlight. That'll mean that when we go ahead and play this part again in the video, you won't hear anything underneath this highlighted line.
I'll start.
And that's a very quick way to do this manually. But obviously with thousands of lines of text, you're going to want to make sure that you hit every single instance of maybe Beth's name or locations of that nature. By using our detected PII section, you can filter out for different categories of automatically detected PII. In this case, we'll just do person. And then we'll hit our drop-down bar here, and we can see the names of all the different people that have been mentioned. So like if we don't want any names to be mentioned at all or heard at all, we can simply just select all and then hit the redact all instances button. Now, if I, go ahead and play the rest of the video, every time we get an orange bar over someone's name, we shouldn't hear it.
I'll go next.
So we didn't hear Liam's name. So now we know that's working pretty substantially and pretty easily. So again, if for whatever reason, there's a name that, the AI doesn't pick up properly, if you have different languages, you can also use our audio redaction tool in the wavelength down here below by clicking the audio button next to the timeline button. So if you need to block out, the last minute of video and just say, hey, we don't need audio from this moment on, you can simply just click and drag on the audio wavelength below, and you can see that it relates up here to our transcription model, showing you that all of these lines have been redacted. Cool. And when your video and your audio is completely done, with the manual edits that you'll need to make just to make sure you QA it properly, you can quickly export that video by simply hitting the export button. By hitting the export button, it'll start a process where our redaction tool will start to delete the pixels that are underneath the orange boxes that are highlighting anything in the video. So in this case, we'll be deleting all of the pixels that are beneath the orange boxes covering the faces of the individuals. We've had, government instances of people being able to unredact certain pieces of media and documents. So we want to make sure that, that is not a possibility after exporting. Speaking of documents, we also have the functionality to be able to redact documents. By uploading a PDF file or any Microsoft Office file, you'll get a different interface when you upload it into our system. So I have here a fake incident report. Has a bunch of different instances of PII here. Obviously, you're going to find a lot of these, as your records people get them. And if you need to return this into the court for whatever reason, you'll need to make sure that, the right PII are redacted from the entire document. So we can go about it a bunch of different ways. By simply clicking and dragging on the document, we can create our own redaction box. And while that's nice for manual redaction, we'll want to be able to do this more efficiently and with higher levels of speed. So our AI scans each individual document for different types of PII. We have addresses, times, dates, names, you name it, we'll probably pick it up automatically. By simply clicking on one of these drop-downs, you can see all the different instances of what our AI has assumed is, a person's name. And if we just want to redact every person's name, simply hitting select all and set all to full, we'll put an orange box around each individual, instance of a name, whether it's a last name, first name, a combination of names, you name it. By hitting the preview button, we can see exactly what those redactions will look like when we export the file. And if for whatever reason we need to label what these boxes are, you can simply click on the box and then hit a label. You can get one of our PIIs that are automatically detected or create your own. So in this case, this is the title of the document, and I can just hit title. And by clicking the all redactions button, you can see, what these labels are and, how they'll come out if you choose to export with the redactions with labels. There's also a functionality where you can search the document for certain text-based PII. So using our search function here, we can type in strings of text and we can find exactly what we're looking for. So in this case, we have a case number, RPD-2024-008843, right? And if I hit search, you can see here that pops up and is highlighting directly on our document. And if I want to redact that right away, just hit the plus button there and it's good to go. Again, the same export process works for our documents. You'll go ahead and hit export, and then it'll start redacting immediately, deleting the underlying pixels underneath those orange boxes. And moving back to our initial example with the video with audio, I'll show you what this looks like once it's done being redacted and all the boxes are having their pixels underlying deleted. You'll get a preview screen that looks just like this, and then you can QA to make sure that all the redactions are done properly. If something hasn't been done properly or something was missed, instead of having to go through the whole process again, you can click the edit button and get right back to where you left off in our editing tool. But if everything looks good, there's a couple different ways we can go about getting the data to the people we need to get it to. We have a share functionality where we can send an email to the exact person that needs to be able to see this video, and they'll have a link that's valid for X amount of days depending on what you send, and it has a security code that'll be sent to their email so you can be sure that no one will ever have access to the video that's not supposed to. Alternatively, you can download the video straight to your machine and email it to whoever needs it yourself, and then you can also download a transcription of what was said in the audio. The most important thing here is that every piece of media on SecuredAct comes with an audit log. This audit log is downloadable and looks something like this. It timestamps and stamps who has done anything to a piece of media. So if you need to submit this to court, they can know safely that the only thing that has been done to the piece of evidence is redaction for compliance. Awesome. And I will stop sharing here and move over to our other slide here. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep. Hunter,
Awesome.
Thanks for that. That was great. And folks, I know we're running a little bit over here. I apologize. I hope you found the demo to be useful. And again, Hunter showed just a fraction of what the tool can do and how quickly it can redact faces and any other incidents of personally identifiable information. As part of you joining today, we are offering to everyone on the call a complimentary 2-week free trial of SecuredAct. Gives you the ability to test it, try it, break it, upload whatever kind of media you want, and just to make sure that it's going to do exactly what you need it to do before we would move into discussions about purchasing a quantity of hours and getting into a subscription model with us. So we encourage you to take advantage of the 2-week free trial. All you need to do is reach out to any of us here via the emails that you see on the screen. We can set it up for you within an hour, and you'll be up and running and ready to go. So we encourage you to try it and see what kind of feedback that you have for us. Again, thank you very much for spending some time out of your day with us. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to get through the conversation. We heard from some great speakers and got some great education about FOIA and where we think FOIA is going relative to how it's going to impact departments all over the country. Hope everybody has a great weekend. And if you have any questions, we can certainly answer them offline. I did answer some chats and QA that came in. But if you have more, again, our email addresses are listed here. Feel free to reach out at any time. Everybody that signed up for this event is going to receive a recording of everything that we went through today, so you can share it with others within your department. And hopefully we can get some good productive conversations going after this. And if you need some assistance, we're happy to help. Thanks again, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Andre.
Thank you.